Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video. And today we are joined with my friend Sean Humanchuk. And Sean actually started his wholesale business about 3 years ago in January of 2016. And today he's going to be sharing his story of how he's pretty much started a wholesale business on Amazon from scratch. And now in 2018, 2019, he's doing anywhere between $45,000 to $50,000 per month in his wholesale business. And he's selling around 1,800 items per month in his wholesale Amazon business. And what's really cool is Sean and I actually met about 3 years ago at the ACE conference by Sam Cohen. So now we're kind of recircling. And it was funny because he was talking about how he was like looking to get into it and wanted to start wholesale, or maybe you were just starting it. And now, man, like you're doing over like $700,000 a year. And I'm just so excited to hear your story. So what's going on, man? How are you, Sean?
I'm doing awesome, man. Steve, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Very cool to be a part of this.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. So it's crazy, man. Like, so share your story. Like when we first met, you were, I think, just getting started with wholesale back in 2016. You were at the ACE conference and like, how did you get into it and everything?
Well, I think at that point I was doing some shoes, doing RA still, and I was just getting into wholesale. I think I was just maybe a couple months into it, and it's a process. So especially when you're doing RA, you kind of want to ease into the wholesale. You don't want to give up all your profits right there, all your income, and just stop and do wholesale. Kind of eased into it. So I was doing a lot of shoes at that point. But originally I started drop shipping on Amazon, and then quickly realized the Prime badge is important, right? And I read Chris Green's RA book, and I stumbled upon Dan and Eric's Source, Sell, Profit course, which most people don't even know about. I think they only released it once or twice. And that was their retail arbitrage course. So I did that for a couple months, and then very quickly realized it's a lot easier to buy stuff in bulk. If I can buy 100 of something and send it into Amazon and not have to do any more work for a month, I'd much rather do that. So I heard about their wholesale course, took that in January of 2016. And like I said, it took a couple months to get everything going, to get the business set up, to build a website, and to kind of feel like a real business. But you know, like I said, it took a couple months, but definitely caught traction. And after that first couple accounts, you really start to feel comfortable in sourcing wholesale, and you feel like a real business.
Awesome. So you decided to jump into Dan and Eric's. Well, you took their first RA course, and then you decided, you know what, I need something a little more scalable, automated.
Exactly.
And you found out about their course called the Wholesale Formula. So you went through that. Talk about your journey, maybe that first year, you know, in 2016, 2017, because now obviously you're doing really, really well, earning a full-time income, 45, 50K a month. But let's talk about that first year, some of the ups and downs, the struggles for the people who are watching now who are interested in this business model.
Sure. So, I mean, at first it's definitely, it can be overwhelming, especially when you come from RA, you come from just going to thrift stores and going into Walmarts and picking out clearance stuff. You kind of just, for me at least, I just kind of felt like a hustler, which is fine. I love hustling. Don't get me wrong. I was selling candy and all that good stuff when I was in elementary school, like, which is fine. But to have a real business where I wasn't going to have to hustle every single day constantly, I wanted to get into wholesale. And some of the struggles were, like I said, it was very overwhelming, trying to create this business entity. When I did RA, I didn't have an LLC. I was just, like I said, I was just flipping stuff. So you have to really become a real business, which is overwhelming to people. Then you have to create this website where you're portraying these value props, where you're making these claims where you're going to help these companies and these brands do better on Amazon. You're going to help their products sell more. You're going to, like I said, portray their brand story on Amazon, how they want it to be portrayed. And a lot of people deal with like a imposter syndrome, where they've never done a lot of these things, so they think they can't do them, and they're afraid to make promises that they can't keep. But you just have to dive in. Once you do it once or twice, it's like, oh, anyone can do this. And I mean, worst case, you outsource it. You know what I mean? That's a good thing about the wholesale formula and being a part of a community. You can ask these questions and find somebody to outsource these projects to. If you have to completely overhaul a listing, you can find somebody very easily and affordably to do that for you if you don't feel comfortable. So I mean, like I said, there are definitely ups and downs. Profit margins can be up and down. Sometimes you'll notice when you get an account and it was very easy for you to get, it's very easy for everybody to get. So you'll notice the margin quickly goes down. But then once the margin's gone, sometimes all the sellers will back out and the profit margins will jump back up. So it's a tough game with some products. Ideally, you want to get into products that have a mapped price where the brand owner wants the product to be sold at a specific price and will only sell to sellers who honor that price. That way your margins are kind of protected. So that's the ideal situation, but not all brands care about Amazon enough to implement that, and not all brands have enough control of their distribution to be able to do that.
So that's interesting. You came from the RA thrifting, thrift store, garage sale world and doing all that.
It was mostly just Target clearance and GameStop clearance and all that good stuff. It wasn't so much, it was all brand new stuff.
So more like retail arbitrage from like retail stores.
A little bit of OA and shoes, but yeah.
But it's pretty much like it's the same hustle as like thrift stores and garage sales. You constantly got to go out and get the bone, bring it back, another one, bring it back. So
but the margins aren't as good as the thrift stores.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right. Thrift stores is like literally the best margins.
Yeah.
But you got to keep going out. So, now that you've moved into wholesale, what are some of the benefits of wholesale versus, retail arbitrage and thrifting and stuff like that? Because you've seen both sides of it, so you can give an honest opinion on it.
Sure. For me, it's the consistent repetitive income. Like I said, some margins can be up and down with some products, but when you find the consistent products, it's all you have to do is place the reorder, label the products on it. If you want to do the prep yourself, have a prep company, or you can have a prep company do it. Slap the labels on the products, send them out. And I would try to order around 45 days worth of inventory. So, I only have to place that reorder once every 45 days, usually just slap a label on the product and send it out. And then Amazon's taking care of the rest. And while all that is going on, while Amazon is selling those products or fulfilling those products for you, you're sourcing new products, looking at competitors, to tracking their products, trying to take advantage of the brands that they're not helping out, that they're not providing value to. You can do some sponsored ads and PPC to try to help out your brands, but a lot of times that's not necessary with wholesale.
Cool. Now, again, and I keep referencing like retail arbitrage and whatnot, because I know a lot of the people who are watching right now are doing the retail arbitrage, the eBay, the thrifting, garage sales. Would you say that it's possible for really anyone to be able to do this wholesale business model? Or is it, like when it comes to like private label and especially like Shopify, like not everybody really has the capacity to run Facebook ads and like run their own brand. And when it comes to private label, you're wearing all of the hats. You're controlling the whole entire brand, building everything out. And I would say for private label and Shopify, it's probably not for everybody, for most people. What about wholesale?
Do you
find it a little?
And I would say wholesale is not for everybody, but I think anybody can do wholesale. Anybody can be successful in wholesale if you're resilient and if you have a little bit of patience and you're willing to work hard and, like I said, be patient for those results, because it's a lot of upfront work and setup and reaching out to brands. But once you reap those rewards, it's huge. And like I said, you just have to be willing to accept some rejection, be willing to take a lot of no's, because you're going to hear no from a lot of brands. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of Amazon sellers, right? And a lot of them are doing wholesale, and all they're doing is emailing companies, can I sell your products on Amazon? And they're getting, a lot of brands are getting bombarded with Amazon sellers reaching out. So a lot of them, they don't want to hear it. They just say no. They have a standard. If you mention e-commerce or Amazon, they're going to tell you no. But where the money is the follow-up. If you can, like I said, be resilient and find their pain points. Why are they saying no? What struggles have they had with Amazon? They've probably either dealt with some crappy Amazon sellers. They've had issues with selling to Amazon themselves. They've heard Amazon is the cheapest market around. You have to kind of educate these brands, but it's not hard. This is stuff that if you're on Amazon every day, you know how to optimize a listing. You know what listings look good and what listings look bad. I mean, like I said, when you get told no, I will literally take screenshots of competitive products that are doing really well on Amazon and take screenshots of their listing and say, look, your whatever your shampoo has all these benefits to it, but it has one picture, one bullet point with a couple words filled out.
I see that all the time, Sean. It's crazy. Like it'll be selling well, but the listing's horrible.
Right. Or it'll be a great product, but it'll be selling well, but maybe not selling to its potential. And you show them their competitors, and maybe their competitor has, all 7 pictures filled out with great action shots and all their benefits laid out, talking about how organic it is and all these things. If you show that competitive product to a brand, they're going to be upset that their product doesn't look good, that their product isn't being portrayed the way that they want it to in a respectable manner on Amazon. Right. So that's just one way that you can brands don't realize that they have control over changing their pictures and titles and bullet points. When if they have a seller that's on their side working directly with them, you can do all those things. Because
I would say probably like most of these brands are like in business of like product development.
Sure.
And they're kind of worried about their own storefront. They're not naturally like very educated when it comes to selling on Amazon, because there's a lot to it for us and for everybody watching. Like we understand Amazon. It's much easier to be aware of these things. But I guess my question to you, Sean, is like when I know you're going and you're identifying like issues with the listing and whatnot. Are you just identifying and saying, hey, these are the things you should improve? Or do you say, hey, listen, I know somebody who can take great pictures. Let's work together. Like I'll help you with the title. I'll help you with the description. Like, are you actually working with them?
It's basically like, let me do these things for you. I will fix all of these for you.
For free.
For free. I mean, it's
like for free, but you better let me sell that item.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. If you're not going to get permission to sell the product, you're not going to make any money. It's not going to be worth your time. You need to get permission to sell the product. I have before done some work up front, hoping to get an account, and that's only, you have to kind of weigh your options. If the account is worth a potential $10,000 in profit a month, then you might be willing to do a lot more upfront work if you think the chance is real that you can pull that account. If the account's going to net you $500 profit a month, you're not going to do any work up front, you know what I mean, until you can sell that product and maybe make a little bit of profit. But to be honest, it's not a whole lot of work to do a little bit of keyword research.
Oh no.
And most of these brands have their products for sale on their own websites. So they have bullet points, they have descriptions already on their website. It's just that a lot of sellers aren't utilizing that information. So if you just work with the brand to put the description how they want, put the bullet points in the order that they want, and you use your Amazon knowledge to weave in the proper keywords that are relevant and things like that. And like I said, you work together, you work with the brand. You're not just going to do it all and by yourself, because a lot of brands, they want their products portrayed the way that they want. And if if it's improper on Amazon to begin with, then you want to make sure if you're going to fix it, you're going to fix it the way that the brand wants it to be fixed.
So that's really cool, really interesting right there. So when you're working with these brands, obviously you're adding value, hoping to land that account. Are you trying to become like an exclusive seller, or are you just trying to get permission to break a deal with them? Because a lot of times you'll see a bunch of sellers on these listings. So
sure. And a lot of times just because there's a bunch of sellers doesn't mean there isn't a lot of profit to be made still. But for me, like in the beginning, I never go into a relationship or a wholesale account expecting them to give me an exclusive. Like that's just, if you look at it from the brand's perspective, it just doesn't make sense. Why would they give this stranger who's never done anything for them, make these claims, but they don't know you? Why would they just kick off all these sellers that, I mean, maybe they're not necessarily happy with, but maybe they're not unhappy. Maybe they're not, providing a super amount of value, but they've been selling and honest. And why would they just stop selling to them for no reason? So I always tell people never approach a brand asking for an exclusive right away. Especially, I mean, if you have, you have a couple $1 million business with, all this big reputation behind you, that's different. But especially someone getting started, please don't ask for please don't ask for an exclusive. You're just going to look stupid. But eventually, after you provide a bunch of value, yes, the goal is to work down from 10 or 15 sellers down to maybe 2, 3, 4. I mean, 2 is ideal, you and the brand, because you never really want to have one seller, because what if you get suspended? Then if you're the only seller on the listing, the brand sales should go to 0 for the whole time you're suspended, and then you look bad with the brand. So for me, I always try to have either me and the brand selling, or me and one other seller. That way, God forbid I get suspended or something happens where I can't purchase inventory, whatever, at least there's another seller and the brand is still making sales. Because I mean, your goal is to help the brand, right? Everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to profit off this business. But if you're not providing value and doing what's best for the brand, long-term, you're probably not going to be able to stay with that brand.
Nice. Very cool. Appreciate you sharing that. How much money would you say that, from your experience, people need to get started with wholesale? Or maybe how much money did you have when you got started?
Well, I did have quite a bit of money. I had right around 10K that I was able to, and that didn't get invested right away because I wasn't able to find enough accounts right away. But I was doing the retail arbitrage, and I was actually delivering pizza and Chinese food for like the.
Oh man, I was a pizza boy too.
Hey man, it's good times, Papa John's. So I was actually making pretty good money, but I was, it's not the safest job. I got held up and I gotten into an accident. So it was like, it was, but like I said, I had some money saved up, kind of waiting for an opportunity like this Amazon thing to arise. So I had a good amount of money, but it wasn't necessary at first because it takes time to get some accounts and you're able to build that money. So I would say, you really need at least $1,000. I would say 2 to 3 would be best to have for inventory. Just because a lot of accounts you'll get will have like a $300 minimum or a $600 minimum order purchase. So you have to order at least that minimum, but to get to any type of threshold where you're able to make real profit on the products, you might have to order $2,000 worth or $1,000 worth. And you might only be able to start with one account, maybe 1 or 2 accounts. So you definitely, the more money you have, obviously the better. But I would say at least $2,000 you really should have for inventory, or it's going to be tough. I don't think you need that because you can just look for smaller products that aren't selling as much. You don't have to search for products that are selling 100 times a month. You can search for products that are selling 20 times a month and just build that capital. But I do think going into it, after your website and everything, you should have $2,000 for inventory.
Yeah, it seems like you'll probably, like, one of the biggest challenges, just after talking to different students of the wholesale formula and other friends of mine who do wholesales, when you're first getting started, you could start making sales quick, but you're dealing with that cash flow issue because you're investing in these, in these
45 days.
Yeah. 45, 60 day, whatever you're investing in. It's like they're selling, but you're not really getting your money. You have to keep building your accounts and building the sales. And then eventually, like, it kind of crosses where you're making a profit.
Yeah. You're making a profit because as long as you're selling, as long as you're selling those products in that month, you're going to turn your inventory. And I look for like 30% ROI. I do have some products that are a little less than that. I look more
That's
at
pretty
ROI.
solid.
I look at, I have some that are close to doubling my money. And they might not sell 100 times a month, but a product that profits $23 a unit and sells 60 times a month is a great product to have.
Wow.
So a lot of people, and this is a wholesale formula thing, that a lot of people are looking for this set number of sales per month. I don't stick to that. Especially now that I'm a little more seasoned, I have like certain niches that I try to stick to. But one thing I tell people is don't get stuck in these parameters where you have to make 30% ROI or you have to make 25% margin or whatever. You can't get stuck in those parameters because everyone's business is different. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different overhead. Different people can accept different margins. And depending on the velocity of the product and the profit per unit, you can accept different, it's just, like I said, I tell people that are getting started, don't get stuck in these exact parameters that you hear in courses or, YouTube guys say, you have to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Put your own little spin on it, your own little twist.
Exactly. And you have to, and that's another thing when you're reaching out to brands, you don't want to do exactly everything to a T, just like is in the wholesale formula. You want to put a little personalization on it so you can stand out from everyone else that's doing wholesale. You know, being able to stand out, there's a lot to be said for it. When these brands are receiving 10, 12 emails a day or a week from people that want to sell their product, if you can be that one that is totally different and just gets them to reply, that you know what I mean, that's gold, you know.
You ever send like a video response? Because I get people all the time that like want to come on my YouTube channel or work together in different business propositions. And I always get like a ton of emails and they never stand out. Like I typically avoid emails because it's just so easy to just copy and paste. But one thing that I notice people do very well, and I've actually done it to reach out to other people in business, is I'll just shoot like a video, like a 60-second video and send it over. Have you ever done that? Or do you recommend like shooting a video?
I haven't done that. I did take a selfie of me with a sign like, I need your product. And I had like a bunch of stuff behind me that was like related to it. And it was like, but it didn't work. It did not work. But that's the type of outside the box thinking that like most people aren't going to do. Most people they don't feel comfortable doing. I mean, myself, I don't really feel comfortable on camera, especially just talking to myself in a phone or something like that. Like most people, a lot of people, especially on Amazon, a lot of people are introverted.
Oh, wow.
So you really want to step out of your comfort zone. A lot of people, you know, they want to sit behind a computer, and that's a lot of people get into wholesale for that reason, because they think you don't have to talk to people. You can just sit behind a computer and run numbers and scan Excel sheets and flip products. But I mean, if you can, like I said, if you could stand out, if you can be personable, and resonate with a brand owner or even a sales rep, and just be different, it means a lot. And again, be informative, educate them, tell them what they could be doing better. If they say, no, we don't need any Amazon sellers, you say, okay, well, tell your Amazon sellers they should fix these pictures and these bullet points, because that's what a good Amazon seller would do. And then you reach out to them in 6 months when no one has done that, and you say, hey, I noticed your Amazon listings still look like trash. You don't want to say it in those words, but I noticed no one's helped you out on Amazon. None of your sellers seem to really care about your brand presence on Amazon. Are you guys ready to try out a new seller? Or, you know, you just got to think of different ways. Offer to do a 1 month trial run. Just say, sell me 100 of your product. That's it. And just, I'll show you what I can do to fix your, to help you out on Amazon. If you don't like it, then never sell to me again. Different things like that, to where they're not binded to an exclusive with you. Like that's no good. And you never want to put a brand in a position where they feel they're in a corner and they have no decision other than to say no and cut the conversation off.
Interesting. What are your thoughts? Your honest opinion, because that's one thing I really respect about you and the guys over at the Wholesale Formula. Like, you guys just tell it how it is. Like I'll be real, like in my area with thrift stores, man, like it's not the same as it used to be. Like 5 years ago, I could go into thrift stores and buy stuff for like 50% less. Like all the prices are getting jacked up. eBay's still, perfect. And Amazon, like there's not really much changes over there. The competition's growing, but the demand, more people are coming online. Like with wholesale, is it getting easier, harder? Do you think it's still a good opportunity in 2019, 2020 moving forward? Is there enough room for people to get in?
It would be a lie to say that it isn't different than it or harder than it was in 2016 for sure. And I mean, it was harder in 2016 than it was in 2014. You know what I mean? It's always going to be harder. 5 years from now, it's going to be even harder. But every day, new brands come on to Amazon. Brands that were already established want to make their presence on Amazon. Brands are realizing how important Amazon is and wanting to weed out those bad sellers and bring on somebody to kind of consult them and walk them through the process. So, I mean, it's definitely harder, but I think that's a good thing, honestly.
Absolutely.
Because it weeds out the people that don't want it bad enough, the people that can't take a little bit of rejection, the lazy people. If you're willing to work hard, it's a huge opportunity. And honestly, one good wholesale account, just one wholesale account, can be life-changing. I mean, one wholesale account can net you $2,000 a month profit. And do
you have any like that?
Yeah, I have one product that nets me, between the multiple products, it's well over $2,000 a month profit.
Well, let's talk. Don't tell us what it is, obviously, but I'm curious, like how does that work? Like, that's one product or a product line.
It sells for like $100. I get it for $60. There's a $20 margin right there. And I mean, I sell over 100 of them a month.
Wow,
I mean,
that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Do you like to focus on items that are a little more expensive? Because items like $15 or less, that fee is so high that it just eats up all your profit. I feel like there's a good opportunity with like bigger, heavier, like
and most
weirder
people,
items.
a lot of people, I mean, you know, it's hard to say to your audience who might be just starting out, might not have much of a bankroll, but yeah, I mean, if you have the money, the higher priced products that's what people are not going towards, because, you know, it costs a lot more to get started. You know what I mean? That $60 product, if I order 200 at a time, that's a $12,000 order. Most people don't, you know, getting started won't have the capital to do that right away. So it's going to take time to maybe build up to that. But I like to go for higher price product, oversized products. A lot of people don't want to go for oversized products. They look for small, fits in a box, under a pound, all that good stuff. I look for higher price, oversized, things that people aren't looking at.
So for the people that are watching now who have $10, $20, $30,000 to invest, you know, there's people out there who watch and they might even have 50 to 100 and they're just sitting in a bank earning 0.001 or 2% in a CD. If you know what you're doing, this seems like an interesting opportunity to, if you're getting started, target, you don't have to spend all that money, but target some of these bigger, heavier items because you're going to have less competition.
Right. Less competition, and it's more profit per sale. Think about it. If you have a product that's selling for $250 and you're making $100 a sale or $80 a sale, excuse me, you don't need to sell a whole lot of that product to make it worth your time. You know what I mean? You sell a couple a month and you're making a couple $100 in profit a month, and it's less work. The higher priced products and the less individual unit sales, the less products you have to prep. I mean, I have one product that we sell a couple hundred of a month, but we make like $1.80 to $2 a piece off them. And I mean, you have to polybag them and label them. It's a consistent product. It's a consistent income, but it's a lot more work. And
do you prep them yourself?
I do some myself, and I have a part-time prepper that helps me. Actually, 2 part-time, but they're.
Why not use a prep company, Sean?
Well, I mean, for that product, it wouldn't make any sense because by the time I get it shipped to me, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're looking at a prep company, which is, since we're talking about high price products, right there is another benefit. You can use a prep company when you're making $60 a piece, or $20 a piece. You can afford to send that to a prep company, and they can, you know, charge you $1.50 or whatever it is that they charge you to prep each individual unit, and you're not worried about $1.50 on a $20 profit. You know what I mean? So you're making $18.50, but you never had to touch the product. And I know a lot of people in wholesale, they're very interested in never having to touch the product. Me, I get bored sitting behind a computer. I like prepping products. I don't mind it. I mean, it's not what I want to do 8 or 10 hours a day. Don't get me wrong. But I don't mind prepping products a little bit. So I prefer to keep it in-house. I have a storage unit with, they allow me to use their forklift and all. So I use that. But I like I said, I don't mind I do most of the prep in-house. I use Steve Peterson's warehouse in Carlisle for some of my stuff.
I got a friend who uses him as well. Okay, he's actually, going to be moving near him to utilize the warehouse. So your profit margins are around like what, 30% typically, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more.
No, my ROI is like 30%. The profit margins are going to be 15 to 20%. And that's of the margin on the overall sale price. But I look more at the ROI. If it's worth the ROI versus how much prep it's going to take. If it's worth it for me, then I do it. If not, I don't. And like I said before, everyone's different. Some people have that prep center cost that they have to work into their margin. So those socks wouldn't be good for a lot of people, because that's the $2 product, the profit product I was talking about. They wouldn't be worth it for a lot of people because they have to pay somebody $1 a piece to prep them. But for me, since I can pay someone $12 an hour to do it, and they can do a couple hundred pair, you know what I mean? It's very quick and easy. But like I said, that generally 15 to 20% is what I'm looking for. Under that, it's got to be like very, very fast moving product, high velocity, and not a lot of prep.
Cool. Awesome. Any advice or words for the people who decide to go through the wholesale formula? Maybe talk a little bit about it and kind of advice for maybe how to go through the course and how to take action. Were you going through the course and taking action step by step, or did you go through the whole course at first and then take action after it?
I went through the whole course one time, and then because again, I was doing the RA, I was doing shoes, and I didn't have the time to watch the videos, implement all in that span. So it took me a couple months. I went through everything, and then I rewatched everything and took action steps. I went through the whole thing and took notes, and then I went through and took action steps as I was watching the second time. And I mean, one of the biggest things for me was just like finding a mentor, finding someone who was already where I wanted to be, and just kind of following their steps. Again, like I said before, you want to kind of personalize everything. You want to stand out. You want to be a little bit different. You don't want to follow everyone to a T, or follow anyone to a T exactly. But you definitely find somebody that is where you want to be. And for myself, I wasn't looking at anybody that's doing millions of dollars a year, because that's not my goal. My goal is just to have like a nice sustainable business where I'm kind of my own boss. I was talking about it the other day. I kind of created a job for myself with this business, and a lot of people look at that as a bad thing, right? They're like that you don't have a real business. You just created yourself a job. And for me, it's a job that I like. I wake up happy every morning. I can take off when I want to take off. If I don't feel like working this week, I don't really have to. You know what I mean? You can send in extra inventory and take a vacation. It's a great life, honestly. I mean, when you're first getting into it, it definitely can be overwhelming. But once you get those first couple accounts, you realize, you see that, you see the possibilities, and then eventually you land an account that, will pay your mortgage every month. And it's just, you know what I mean? It's life-changing, seriously.
I'm so happy for you, brother. It's crazy to see your journey, man, and how far you've come. Did you have a job when you were first starting? I know there's a lot of people who, want to start an online business, but they work a job, a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Maybe you could give some context.
So like I said, I was delivering pizza and Chinese food for like the 4 years. Let's see. So I started drop shipping on Amazon in like August of 2015. And then got into RA after a month or two, and quickly got into the FBA, and then I was working that whole time up until July of 2016. So it was about 7 months after I joined the wholesale formula, to where I had enough money saved up, and I had enough of a consistent income where I felt comfortable quitting my job and relying on Amazon. So like I said, it took a good 7 months before, it was something consistent where I was, felt comfortable. And it's going to take longer for some people. It's going to take shorter, it's going to be shorter for others. Everyone's different. And like I said, that one account or those 2 accounts can really just change everything for you.
Love it, brother. Any final words or advice you would give to somebody who wants to start this business but doesn't know the best way to start? Maybe, they're watching these videos and they're excited about it, but they're just like, I don't know if I can do it. What's my first step? Any advice you would give? Yeah,
man. So like I said, find a mentor or a course. If it's not the wholesale formula, find somebody that resonates with you, who's done it before, who is where you want to be, and kind of, emulate what they're doing. Work hard. Don't be afraid of rejection and failure. Cause I mean, we didn't get into this, but I mean, I've had accounts where, making great, a couple $1,000s a month, and all of a sudden the brand decides they want to sell on Amazon themselves. So like things like that can happen. And you never know. Sorry.
It's all
you never
good,
know
brother.
what's going to happen. Sorry.
Yep.
You never know what is going to happen. But Amazon's ever changing, and these brands are always changing. But you just don't give up. Constantly look for new products to source. The accounts that you do have that you provide good value to, they will recommend you to brands that they're affiliated with, and friends that own products and different things like that. So I mean, just never give up. You know what I mean? That's really it. Don't be afraid of the rejection, because you're going to get rejected in wholesale. You're going to fail. Just keep pushing onward, man.
Love it, man. Love the final words of wisdom. So if you guys enjoyed this video, do us a big favor and like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys are interested in checking out the wholesale formula, the course is open this week. It's open for 1 week, so I'm not exactly sure when this video is going to be published, but I'll put some details down below in the description. And also, if you guys do join the wholesale formula, just for being a follower of Rake and Profit, I am throwing in a $2,000 bonus as well. So if you want to grab that, you can check out the details in the description. But yeah, you know, super freaking awesome hearing your. I love talking to people and then like chatting with them again, like years down the road and seeing them successful. And it's just, this one of the things I love about having this YouTube channel and just meeting people at conferences and stuff. Like, Sean, you're an inspiration. And I don't know if you realize it or not, man, but your story, there's going to be somebody who's listening and watching right now, and they're going to be like, wow, like if Sean could do it, I could do it. And they're going to get started, and I'll probably interview them in 2 years and hear their success story. So, man, I appreciate you.
I hope so, man. That's the reason for me doing it. Honestly, I hope it just helps one person. That would be great. And definitely, if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's for sure.
All right, brother. Hopefully, maybe one day we could catch up and grab a drink sometime. We're not too far away from each other. So
sure,
I appreciate you, brother.
And anybody out there, if you want to reach out to me on Facebook or whatever, any questions, or, you know, if you want to, you know, just get a personal message for a little bit of insight, or hear something about the course, reach out. No problem.
Sure. Awesome. I'll put some of your information down below as well. But Sean, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys all watching.
Thank you,
yeah. Have a great day, and talk soon.
Later,
Thanks,
man. Have
Sean.
a good weekend.
Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video. And today we are joined by Chris McCauley, and Chris is a wholesale seller. He actually did $101,000 in sales over the last 30 days, which is pretty incredible. And he's in the supplement and beauty products niche. So we're bringing Chris on today to talk about his journey starting a wholesale business. And he's going to be sharing a bunch of tips and tricks for getting started, how to scale, just different things that he's kind of done along the journey. So really excited to have you here, Chris. What's going on, brother?
Doing awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I put out a post on Facebook. This was probably like, I think a week ago. And I was asking my audience, do you know anybody who's having success on Amazon or success wholesaling? And somebody had tagged you, and I looked you up, and I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel. He has over 4,000 subscribers. Definitely check it out down below. It's crazy how many amazing YouTubers are out there, and you just don't know about them until, you know, you find an interview or you stumble upon their podcast or whatnot. So Chris and I, we got connected. We've been chatting a little bit behind the scenes, and let's kind of jump into your story a little bit. Like, how did you get started with wholesale? Because I know you said you've been following me from maybe since like 2013 or 14, and you were doing garage sales and stuff. So where'd you start, and how'd you get to doing over 6 figures per month now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a steady transition, and that's just the way it's worked for me. So what I did was I started out going to garage sales, and I was working 2 jobs at the time and going to school full time, 2 minimum wage jobs, working at an airport, an assistant to a personal trainer. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is absolutely terrible. So I started going to garage sales, hitting them up even harder. And I remember I bought this Harry Potter Lego set for $10, and it sold for around $260, $270. And as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I'm like, this is, wow, making money online is a real thing. And so fast forward 4 or 5 years, end of 2016, I was buying and flipping video games and actually was doubling my income at my corporate job, which gave me the confidence to leave, which then I left Illinois. I was like, okay, I'm going to go from Illinois to California. And on the way, I found this Amazon podcast, and I'm like, wow, like, this is awesome. I kind of got hooked in with like the Lamborghinis and stuff. Like, I bought the private label course. I did that. I didn't lose any money, but at the end of the day, my products became saturated. And this is 2017. I'm like, okay, I need to make money. And I just went back to my roots, which was arbitrage. You know, I went to the book sales. I went to the thrift stores. I went to anywhere that I could find products to flip for a profit. And then I got into online arbitrage latter part of 2017, which is where I really started finding success on Amazon. And that's when I think my best months were like 15 to 20K gross per month. And it was enough to live on. But I told myself, okay, I need to scale. And if I need to get into more scalable opportunities. And I just kind of went along the whole selling name brand products on Amazon route. And I made the move. I was like, I went to the ASD trade show last year. So, I mean, I've only been doing wholesale. I mean, it's, maybe 6 to 8 months, and it's absolutely blown up. So
Wow.
it's crazy. The wholesale part, I've been selling online for a while, but the wholesale part of me has only been 6 to 8 months. So, I mean, it's crazy how fast things can scale. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, man. Wow. 6 to 8 months and you're already up to the 6-figure mark. So let's kind of talk about that transition. So you made that transition from OA to wholesale. Like maybe we could talk about first couple deals. How did you make that transition? Because I know people are watching right now thinking, wow, that's really cool. Obviously wholesale is an opportunity, but how do I actually sink my teeth into it and lock down that first deal? And I guess even a step further, Chris, is like, how exactly are you doing wholesale? Because there's so many different ways to kind of go about it.
Yeah, so I'll answer first what I'm doing is, so like you said, there's so many different ways. You can buy from liquidation lots, you can buy closeout suppliers. I'm actually going the route of buying from authorized distributors and or manufacturers. So like I'm actually, because I don't want to rely on, I want to kind of know what I'm going to buy next month. That's the whole reason I did that. And then in terms of transitioning, for me, it was much harder than it should have been. I quit OA. I quit online arbitrage cold turkey. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to let my inventory sell out and just hit up suppliers. But what I should have done was, and what I tell people now to do is, if you're doing any kind of arbitrage, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, whatever you're doing, right, keep a notebook down of either items you're selling or just brands that you're coming across, even if you're gated on them on Amazon. Write that down, because that's going to be where you want to go. Like this is the best place for wholesale research, is when you're on the ground floor doing that kind of sourcing. So that can be your leads. Those can be your leads when you start wanting to reach out to companies to buy these products. Even though it may not be that exact product, it may be that brand, which is important. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I made that transition. And my first order was, I think, $500. Yeah. And last week we spent $30,000 in orders. So it's crazy how quickly just the mindset, like now $500, I'm just like, oh, that's, I'm not even going to waste my time with that. So,
well, that's cool, man. So you don't really need a ton of money to get started. We've been interviewing a lot of people, and some people are saying $1,500. Others are saying $3,000 to $5,000. What would you say?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to go off of what I see suppliers I run into every day. And I would say most of the suppliers, even the bigger ones, they have minimum orders of $200 to $500. So like you can get started with very low money, but but the farther you climb up the food chain, the bigger the orders become, like $10,000. I hit up one supplier. They're like, we need you to order 30,000 pounds, like not currency, but like weight. So, I mean, it's just like the farther you climb up, the bigger that order is going to be. So.
Okay, cool. And are you going after like small to mid-sized companies and really trying to come from like a value standpoint where you're trying to improve their listings and build the relationship and get that exclusive deal? Or are you going more towards just a higher volume? You don't care if there's a bunch of sellers on it already. What's your strategy in terms of that?
Yeah, so I've tried both. Right now, I'm doing the latter. So we are basically just approaching different companies, and we're not really going for, like, they're larger companies. They're not more so like the smaller companies. But I mean, in the future, though, I think that's a great way to do it. And I want to get into that, where you're coming from the more value standpoint. Hey, we'll improve your listings, or maybe you're good with PPC and you can add an extra 50 sales a month. Hey, can I get in on this listing if I can create 50 extra sales a month? Like, who isn't going to say no to that? I mean, but yeah, there's either way. I'm doing more so the first option. So right now, anyways.
Great, man. Awesome. And what exactly is wholesale for the people who are maybe some of this is going over their head right now? What exactly is wholesale, like when we're talking about this business model? How would you define it?
I mean, for me, and I think this could be a little different for everyone, but for me, it's buying name brand products in bulk. So, like, we are the retailer. So, like, there's Walmart, there's Target, Chris, I'm a retailer. And so we're just buying name brand products to sell on whatever marketplace. It could be Amazon, it could be Walmart, jet.com, wherever you want to sell them at. So,
Okay,
eBay.
cool, man. So when you first got started and you put together your first deal, I think you said you spent about $500. How long did it take until you like maybe built your second relationship and you ordered again? And like, when did things start to kind of take off where you're like, holy mackerel, like this is actually working right now? Because, from where you started to where you are now, there's a lot that happened in between. So when did you kind of know, when did that aha moment kind of click?
Yeah, so there were definitely some mistakes that were made in the beginning. So, I mean, and that like we were purchasing things and it was kind of slowing, like the suppliers were shipping them out slower, like they weren't shipping them out immediately, and all the suppliers I ran into were doing that, and I was thinking to myself, maybe that's custom that they don't ship things out within the first week. But then I started finding better suppliers that were actually shipping things out quicker. They were, better profit margins. And I would say if my first order was in August of 2018, it was about the October mark where I was like, wow, you could build a 7-figure business around just one supplier. Like it's
really?
absolute.
Just
yeah,
one supplier?
One really good supplier you can build a 7-figure business around, but it is like finding a needle in a haystack. But the thing is though, once you know how these like the pieces fit together, you know how to find that needle quicker and quicker every time.
So what would you say you're typically looking for? If you were to call up or chat, I'm assuming you do call them up or email them.
I call anytime I can. Anytime I can, I call. Yep.
So what are some of the signs that you've got a keeper, that you got a live one on the hook? Like what are some of the signs like this is really good, or maybe some of the signs of like this is really bad, like stay away? Because when you're new, that's the thing that kind of sucks about starting a new business is like you don't know what you don't know is going to kill you.
Yeah. So the things I look for is barriers to entry. So, and I'm not saying to start off like this, but I think everyone should try and move in this way. So like when I have to make 20 calls, like we landed this one supplier, I called up maybe across 5 weeks, maybe 20 times. And
wow.
yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And we landed them. And the thing is that I know, yeah, there's probably some other Amazon sellers who have this, but because they are so hard to access, that not a lot of people are going to be using that same supplier. So what I look for is barriers to entry. Are they just willing to accept everyone that comes on board? Which I'm not saying, I think is a good place to start, but eventually you want to look for maybe those bigger fish to land, if that makes any sense. That's kind of like a constant I look for.
Interesting. And how are you finding suppliers? Like, are you doing your research typically off of Amazon where like maybe we could talk about softwares and stuff, but how do you even know like who to contact? How do you know who's a supplier? How do you find the suppliers? Are you going from product to supplier or from supplier to product? What are your thoughts kind of in that?
So it's kind of like being a detective, and I think that's why I like this so much. It's like, it's really like, you call this one person, which leads to this, which leads to that. But what I did, but what I did though in the beginning was I would just go to the best sellers on Amazon. You don't have to pay for any software. It's free. You go to the best sellers. You're like, okay, you pick your niche, maybe sporting outdoors, health and beauty, whatever it is. And you're just seeing who are the best brands, like who's selling the best on Amazon. And then what I do is, even though there's a particular product that's selling well, I'm going to the supplier with the mindset of, I want your catalog. Like, I just want to see what can you sell. So I'll hit them up and I'm like, look, can I speak to a sales rep in my area? Can I speak to a distributor that sells to, retailers? Because I always want to be sold to. I don't want to sell to them. So like, I always want, even though I am trying to sell my business, like sell myself, if you get to a sales rep, anyone who's ever worked in sales knows that they're trying to sell to you. So I want that. That's the way I want to approach it. But anyways, so I just approached them and I'm like, hey, do you guys have a sales rep or distributor? And then I kind of just work my way down until I find someone that I can place orders with.
So the goal, it seems like, is to get that list, to get that catalog. And I'm assuming in the catalog, they share with you what products they offer, the prices, and then maybe the MOQs. Is that kind of how it works, or is there anything I'm missing?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like they usually do a good job of that. Like now, you know, they'll give you MOQs, prices, UPCs, everything like that. Like the whole, you know, everything. But the thing is though, is that some suppliers do not have that. That's just not the way they operate. So you do have to get a little bit of crafty out. There are other ways to analyze those suppliers. But yeah, if they have a list, you want to get that like as quickly as possible. So
Okay, cool. So then once you get the list, and we all know how to do this, we're analyzing deals all the time, whether you're
yeah,
just getting started with eBay or Amazon or whatever. But then you're essentially, I guess, you're probably looking up the product. You're probably going to like the FBA calculator, and then you're plugging in like your buy cost and seeing what the profit margins are typically.
yeah, that's exactly it. Like just, you know, plugging in seeing what the profit margins are after all the shipping and, you know, all those Amazon fees and all that. And then it's just like, hey, what's the take home here? And then you just make your purchasing decision on, you know, and there's some other factors like how quick is it selling, how many you're going to sell per week, per month, and all that stuff. And then you make the order, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
How many items do wholesalers typically have in their catalog? Is there like an average amount, or could it be hundreds or tens of thousands?
It could be, man, that's it. I think it really varies because I know there's people that are doing hundreds and thousands of dollars a month off of just, you know, 40 items. Like all it
Really?
takes, yeah, like it does not take a lot to like the $101,000 came from about 20 to 30 items. That $101,000 gross and the 30 days came from 20 to 30 items. It really does not take a lot to do some damage. Yeah. Yeah.
What are profit margins typically?
Profit margins. So, you know, I think this kind of varies from niche to niche, but for us anyways, we shoot for a 25 to 30% ROI every order. Net, we're looking at 20%. So it is a little bit it's definitely lower than arbitrage, and it's definitely lower than private labeling, but the speed and the ability to scale is what makes it so lucrative.
And that's the thing that I've been trying to get across to a lot of eBay and Amazon sellers who do an RA is, yeah, the profit margins are much, much lower. They're even way lower for anybody who's doing drop shipping. Drop shipping could be at 5 to 7 to 8%. But the thing is, with drop shipping, it's all digital. You're not having to source the products. And with wholesale, the products are coming to you. How much time did you have to spend back in the day, man, when you were hitting garage sales and thrift stores to find the product? And then you sell them, and then you're just back to square one again.
Man, I'm telling you, like that's the whole point. That's the whole reason I wanted to get into this because I was working on my eBay business. Believe me, I ran a 10K a month eBay business, and the amount of time that went into that was probably a little more than this last month on Amazon. So it's like, it just got to the point where it's like, okay, how can I stop selling my time for money? And that's pretty much the question I asked myself. And that's why this is so lucrative because, yeah, the profit margins are lower, but you can stop selling your time for money. And that's why I got into it.
I'm going to play a little like good cop, bad cop here because
yeah, let's hear it, man.
With any business model, you know, there's always pros and then there's cons. And I hear a lot of people, you know, they talk kind of trash about eBay and Amazon. They're like, you know, it's like the profit margins are high, but you have to like always find new items. And that's so true. It's like, it is a downside with wholesale. A lot of people talk about, you know, competition coming in and like, you could have a product that's selling well, but then the price could crash. Is that true with wholesale with your model? Or is it like, are you constantly like, from your experience, are you finding a product and it's selling well, and then all of a sudden like the vendor lets in a bunch of Amazon sellers and it crashes? Or is it really a case-by-case study? Or is that just a generalization that like wholesale's like you're always having to chase another bone, kind of like thrifting?
Yes and no. So like you are always wanting to. Okay, so the price does crash, except not really with what we're selling because we're going after very hard to get into gated categories. So like the more barriers to entry, the less you're going to have to worry about. But if you're trying to source, you know, just something that everyone can buy from Walmart, not only are you going to have to worry about other wholesalers coming in, but like, oh, Walmart just ran a deal and now you're going to have all these arbitrage guys that will lower the price, just supply and demand. But to your point though, you do always have to be constantly like not only looking for other items, but other suppliers. You you know, it's just part of the game. So I think what it boils down to is just either one, you got to like doing it, or two, you just got to create a system. Like I've got a virtual assistant that does 24 hours of product research a week. So 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. Wow. So like, I don't do any of the product research now. I maybe make a few phone calls and that's it. Like he's doing everything else for me, which is pretty cool.
Are you using prep centers, Chris?
I do not use a prep center. I actually tell people to not use prep centers if they can, because it will slow your inventory turnover rate. It will slow it down. And I mean, 2 to 3 days may not seem like a lot, but if you're doing 4 orders a month, that's 8 to 12 days that your inventory turnover slowed down. And then you do that across a year, that's 96 days, 64 to 96 days that you could have turned your inventory around quicker just across the year. So, but if you have to use them, if you have to use them, I tell people to, but I try not to. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And what advice would you give to the people right now who are watching and they're like, this sounds really great. I'm tired of having to always go to thrift stores and garage sales. I want to scale past 5-10 grand a month. But they're just thinking to themselves, I don't know if I'm smart enough if I could do this. You know, wholesale seems sophisticated and complicated, because a lot of people make it seem harder than it actually is. And after all the interviews, it's like, it doesn't seem that challenging. Obviously there's things, you know, barriers to entry, but what advice would you give to the person who's like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah. So
you've been there.
Yeah. Like my mindset is, and I've always had this mindset, is like, if men can land on the moon, I can build the wholesale. Like I can do like, that's always been my mindset. And like, the thing is with wholesale is it's not difficult, but it's not easy. And there's a difference between easy and difficult. Like wholesale is almost like if you have a wall in front of you, and you have a wall and someone's like, hey, you're going to put this helmet on and you're going to break through this wall. Like it just takes a lot of persistence and just, you know, like just believing in yourself, because it is not difficult. But there will be times where, hey, you've made 80 phone calls and you know, like, or you've hit up, you know, you have 10 spreadsheets and none of them are profitable. And you have to be willing to be like, you have to believe that something's out there and that you have to, you know, that the golden ticket is there, and you just got to keep calling and not let that affect your workflow. So like anyone could do it. Like, believe me, if I can do it, you guys can do it. There's plain and simple like this. Yeah.
How do you see the future of wholesale on Amazon in 2019, 2020, maybe 2021, the next couple of years or so? Do you see it growing? Do you see this as an opportunity that you're going to continue with?
Yeah, like I definitely want to continue this. Like I want to scale it to 8 figures a year. You know, that's the plan. In terms of the way it's evolving, I think, you know, just to go off previous data that's been there, you know, it used to be super easy to pick up a phone and say, oh, hey, I'm an Amazon seller. And, you know, 3-4 years ago, I'm sure like they would have been like, oh yeah, let's get our brand on Amazon. But now there's so many Amazon sellers, so many people trying to fulfill that need, try to solve the same problem. And when you get that, it doesn't really work out well. So what I see happening is it becoming more and more difficult, more distributors closing their doors to Amazon sellers. So start now, like get in now. But that being said, though, there's always going to be more brands. There's always going to be more brands that are getting created every single day. More distributors that are picking up new brands. So, I mean, I can definitely see it growing, but at the same time, like just like in the last few years, I think I see things changing as well. And you just got to keep up with the changes.
Yeah, what's cool, man, and you're definitely inspiring me, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience, is you don't need, like when you're doing retail arbitrage and stuff, you need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of SKUs to really get to the 5,000 to 10,000 a mark plus, or maybe a little less than that, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's like, it seems like with wholesale, like you can literally, if you land 1 or 2 really good suppliers and you get maybe 5 or 10 different products, like you could start making some really good money. Like, do you have any products that are making like couple $100 a month or 500 or 1,000? Like what's the average someone could expect if they land a good product? I know it varies from niche.
Well, no. I mean, I actually, and it's funny you say that, like when I break down my items in my Excel sheet, I see, okay, how much did I make profit on this item per week? And I mean, it's not like just sitting in your office, like it's not uncommon, like to, you know, $120 for one product. This is just a week, you know, $500 off of one product. Like, it's not uncommon. And the cool thing is you can just do it by, oh, okay, I'm sitting in my office with my tunes on, and just everything's rocking and rolling. So yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to make a couple $1,000s a month off of just one product profit. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Super inspiring, man. Super inspiring. Do you have any final tips for the people who are watching right now? Any final words of wisdom for anyone looking to get started with this business model?
Yeah. A few things. Never take no for an answer. So if someone tells you that, okay, we won't sell to you, but if you go on Amazon and you see other people that are selling it, if you really want to sell that brand and you do enough research, you can get there. It's just going to take some digging. And if they do tell you no, figure out why, because there's always going to be a reason why, and try and learn from that and apply that into your next call, your next supplier. So always be learning. And then my last thing is just don't procrastinate. Like, take massive action. I'm not telling you guys to go spend $2,000 and you don't know what you're doing, but at the same time, though, always be learning and never procrastinate, because you just never know if, these opportunities, eBay selling, Amazon selling, whatever, they're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow, and just act like it. That's the way I kind of look at it. So that's pretty much my advice.
Awesome, man. Where are we going to see your sales in the next year? Where are they going, man?
I want 2019 shooting for $2 million gross. So that's the plan.
Ooh.
$2 million gross. And if a couple $100,000 profit, that would be amazing. That's kind of where I want to take this. So,
dude, that's awesome. What does your family think about it?
They ask me about it all the time. They think it's kind of crazy. My mom, I'm going to send her this video probably. So hi, Mom.
Shout out to Chris's mom.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, no, I think they are pretty supportive. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. So just really glad to have you on, and it's been awesome sharing your story, and hopefully it's definitely inspired and educated some people. If you guys have enjoyed this video, do us a big favor and hit that like button down below, subscribe for more content. Also, be sure to check out Chris's YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link to that down below in the description. And if you're interested in getting started with wholesale, I have some more information down below as well to help you guys out. But Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Keep up the great work in your business. And yeah, definitely go subscribe to his channel. He's got some awesome videos over there. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Steve.
Barry and I have known each other for probably 3 or 4 years now. I still remember meeting him. I think we were in, I want to say it was either Vegas or Miami. I don't remember, but you were with your mom, and I had heard about your story, and you were doing retail arbitrage. And I think at the time you were doing like 20 grand a month or something. You could correct me if I'm wrong once we jump in, but
probably around there.
Yeah. He's actually a member of the green room. We've known each other. We've met up a couple times, and actually got to go see his mom's warehouse and get to just learn more about Jerry and like the business, the family business and stuff. But yeah, Jerry's on the show because he went from literally, doing retail arbitrage, thrifting. I think you've even done OA to now running a wholesale business. 75 to 85% of his sales come from wholesale right now, I believe. And he did around $300,000 sales in Q4, mostly from wholesale. So it's really cool to just kind of introduce Jerry and hear his story. And like, I'm not even 100% up to date with all the things that are going on with him. So that's a little intro, but this is going to be fun. What's going on, Jerry?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Doing fantastic, man. Like I was saying before the show, I thought Bonafide Hustler came on the video. You guys are looking very similar with the long hair.
Nah, he's got trash hair, doesn't get any sales. I got better hair and better sales.
Dude, so it's great to have you on the show, man. 20 years old, Jerry Ballup. What's been going on, man? How in the world did you get into wholesale? Maybe you want to tell a little bit about your story and how you got started and just the transition, because when you told me your sales, I was really impressed, man. I didn't know you came that far.
Yeah, so like many other people, I started with thrifting and going to garage sales, then started doing RA. And at a certain point, I was like, oh, I keep hearing about wholesale on these trade shows. Let me check it out. So during my senior year of high school, I decided to skip a whole week of school and just fly to Vegas. And from there, I just started dipping my toes in and learning how the process goes to now just being around 75, 80% wholesale. items in my inventory.
Wow. And how are you getting your wholesale items? Because there's a lot of different models that people go about. There's people who buy lists. There's people who do reverse sourcing, build relationships with brands. There's trade shows, ASD. There's so many different models. What specifically when you talk about wholesale, what's your style or your model?
My main style is a lot more riskier than other types of wholesale, which is doing buyouts. So I'll go to trade shows. I'll meet the different distributors for items, and if they have a good item, I'll say, "Oh, okay, what's the pricing? Oh, maybe $15 an item. What's the pricing if I buy everything, which may be a couple hundred units to a couple thousand units?" And from there, it'll give me better pricing, and I'll be the only seller on the listing because of that.
Interesting. So what type of products are you typically looking for? When you're walking around, what catches Jerry's eye? What's something that you see and you're like, okay, this is an opportunity?
Because of my experience with RA, there's certain items I'll see that, hey, I haven't seen this on the Target shelves in over 12 months, but this distributor still has 1,000 left. That'll be one of the things that pops out of my mind. Other items is if they let you touch the products, you can sometimes see the manufacture date on the bottom. And if it's more than 2 or 3 years old, I know it's a discontinued item by then. And from there, that's when I start talking. So for me, rank doesn't really matter as much as the competition and what's the selling price.
Interesting. Okay. And is that the only type of wholesale that you're doing is the buyouts, or are you doing any other types?
I don't know, buyouts, that's the stuff I do to maintain my sales for a long time, but I also do smaller purchase quantities for testing the market and others that have more competition on the item.
Okay, cool. And I think what's cool, Jerry was saying before the show, is you actually brought a couple of products on, some wholesale products that were, and this isn't going to be like a lot of YouTube videos you watch and like the people share like only the wins. You're actually going to share some losers too, right?
Yeah, there's winners and losers, and I'm sold out of everything. So, and either discontinued, so there's not really any competition left. So just keep your eyes peeled at the thrifts. All right, so here's one winner from fourth quarter. Captain America motorcycle toy. I think it pulls back and it launches the little shields and everything. This was interesting because I visited one of my wholesalers over Q4. So imagine just 2 Costco-sized warehouses just filled with pallets and pallets of items. And he literally told me after he gave me a small tour, he's, okay, you can walk around, pick whatever you want. If it looks good, we'll talk pricing, and from there you can decide what to do.
Wow. So you saw that item sitting there. How many were there?
This was an older item of his, so he didn't really have much left, but it was around 75 units. So he was like, I'll just take everything left. And I was checking the Amazon price. It was around $60, lowest FBA. But the rank was terrible, 300,000. And he told me, I'll just take them $18 a unit, take them all. And from there, you can play around with pricing and add clicks and everything. And from there, I sold every unit during Q4. And the one I have on me is a return. So it's all good.
What did you do to get the sales going? Were you just relying on the strength of Q4? And for the people watching right now, if you're not sure what we mean by Q4, that's the fourth quarter, October, November, December. Those months are, notoriously known to speed up in sales velocity. So were you running any like pay-per-click, or were you lowering the price? Did you improve the listing, or what did you do to get those things to sell? Because 300,000 is not bad, but it's probably only selling every here, now and then.
Yeah, 300,000 rank during off season maybe sells 3 to 4 times a month. But during Q4, it'll probably bump up. But what I noticed was the selling price was $60, $70. So I lowered it down to $50. And from there, I started selling maybe 1 or 2 a day. And of course, that was a couple of weeks before Black Friday. After Black Friday hits, I was selling 5, 6 a day. And when I had my last 20 units, I bumped up price and they're still selling.
Wow. Interesting. Cool. So that's definitely a win right there. And you were probably profiting, I'm assuming, at 50, 18, probably around like $15, $20.
Yeah, $15 a unit, more or less.
Okay, nice. So there is winner number 1. What do we have up next for a wholesale product?
This one's another winner. This was at one of the trade shows I went to, a Tron Legacy Light Cycle. which character? Clue. This one was $5 a unit. So for me, anything that's $5, kind of hard to lose money on. Rank was terrible too. I bought this during off season last year. So this was during March, April. I only bought maybe 30 units. And yeah, I was selling one every week or so, but I was profiting maybe $11 to $12 a unit, so it wasn't that bad.
Hey, for something like that with a slower rank, are you shipping? I know you only had 30 units. Are you shipping them all in at once, or are you sending in a couple at a time typically?
If it's something that's around 30 units, I'll send them all in just to have some free space around here. But if it's a slower moving item and I have a couple hundred, I'll send in maybe 30, 60 at a time and hold on. Which is similar to a buyout I did last year. Bought 600 of an item.
600?
Yeah, not that fast of a seller, but the profits are pretty good. But now I'm the only seller left on the listing and been selling 1 to 5 a day.
Wow.
But that one I can't share just yet.
Can you share maybe what you bought it for, or what you're selling it for?
Buy cost was 12. When I was first to market, I was selling them for $40. Then the other sellers started coming in. So then from 40 to 35, 35 to 30, then to around 25, and it maintained that way for a couple months. And then once those guys sold out, I was the last guy left, and now it's selling at $30 all day.
Wow. That's really cool, man. Are you using Keepa charts or camel when you're analyzing these deals? Are you, like, for example, I do a lot of e-flip, and during the textbook season, off season, I'll be buying based on the charts and then sending them in for textbook season. Are you doing the same thing? Or are you going more based on gut, just knowing the brand, knowing that Q4 it's just going to spike, or do you have to see like a trend?
For me, Keepa's one factor if there's competition on the item. If there's no competition, I'll go with my gut, especially if I know the brand. Like, if it's a Lego item, I'll buy it all day, which I've had success with several wholesale Lego lots, but those don't really come around often. But then there was a recent one, which I consider a loser now, but a winner long term. Spent around $23,000 on 1,500 Lego sets. I thought I'd be the only guy selling it. Turns out my wholesaler didn't get the full amount that was sold. And I guess whoever sold him that 1,500 also sold around 800 to other people. And now they're on the listing, which of course they got a cheaper price. And right now it's break even. So I have to sit on those for a while.
So would you say for someone who's new to wholesale and they're going the buyout method, like you're doing trade shows, would you rather go deep or would you go wide? And what I mean by that for the people watching is, if you had $1,000, would you rather spend it all on one product, or would you rather diversify and go with 5 or 10 products to go a little more wide and lower your risk?
You know, if you definitely have less than 5K in capital, I'd definitely go wider than deeper. Just because if you buy this one item, the wholesaler tells you there's 1,000 left, you buy 1,000. The wholesalers almost never give you the true quantity they have on hand. So they probably have another 500 they'll give to a person they have a better relationship with and at a cheaper rate. And maybe that guy wants to tank the listings so that you'll lose money, but he's still making money. So it's better maybe to test order with 10, 20 units of every item. And if it's selling good, just go ahead and make the reorder.
Awesome. Great advice, Jerry. What else we working with, man? I know you got a couple more things.
Yeah, this is one of my losers, which thank goodness during Q4 I sold out of. Marvel Legends, I believe it's the larger series of figures for Captain America. This one, buy cost was around $24.50. And at the time, it looked good because this figure was selling for $50. So I was like, oh, I'll make a $10 guaranteed profit. And it was one of those situations where the wholesaler didn't give me the true quantity he had on hand. And at the same time, I did a small test order. So I was stuck with 50 units. I was hoping the price would go up, but during Q4, I saw it wasn't going up. So I was like, all right, I'll sell it at a loss, but at least I'm getting my money back.
Interesting. Okay. Now, how do you know that there's not other wholesalers who have units? Because, you know, they might be telling you the truth, but who's to say there's not another wholesale on the other side of the country with another batch of that product?
Yeah, it's always a thing of these kind of closeout type buyout deals. Whoever they're buying them from, like usually if the Marvel figures or other toys, they're buying them directly from Target or Walmart, like they're overstock. Some wholesalers will work closely with these companies to make sure they're getting everything on hand. But like always, it's these companies will say, "Oh, we have 2,000 on hand," when they really have 4,000 or more.
Okay.
Like even my favorite wholesaler, he's had problems with that in the past, spending over $500,000 on a product just so he can have everything on hand. And the manufacturer had that same amount he sold them. They still had that same amount on hand selling to retailers.
Oh,
So he's been sitting on that item for like 2 years now.
so there's definitely some pros and cons to your specific model. I've been interviewing and talking with quite a few other wholesale sellers who are, in the wholesale formula program, or other people who are running this model. Why did you choose to do this model, like purchasing buyouts versus building relationships and getting exclusives and kind of going that route? Because I know you're familiar with Dan and Eric and the wholesale formula model. Any pros and cons or any reasons why you chose your model? Because there's always more than one way to skin a cat. I'm not here to say theirs is better or yours is better or worse or whatever, but I'm just kind of curious what your mindset is on that.
I know mine's definitely more risk and more capital involved, but if you have the space, time, and money, definitely do it. This method I prefer because I can spend a certain amount, because I look more at the cost of a buyout than the costs for every order. So if a buyout only costs me 8,000 to 10,000, I consider that pretty cheap, and I'll buy it. And then from there, I have inventory to last me a couple months on end. Versus some other wholesalers where you do smaller quantities every month, they'll respond, but they're not going to give you highest priority because you're not the one spending the most.
Interesting. What would you say are the biggest mistakes or challenges that you faced getting into wholesale, and maybe some advice for the people that are watching right now who want to go with your model of wholesale?
All right. So tips for wholesale, I'd say go to as many trade shows as possible. Just walk around, just get the experience. It doesn't matter if you make a buy or not. Second is learning how to approach these wholesalers, because at many trade shows, they'll say no Amazon sellers. A lot of times I'll go and I'll ask them why. They're like, oh, it's MAP pricing you're breaking, or we just don't like how all the products crash in price because of Amazon sellers. From there, you can talk with them, see if maybe they can give you exclusivity, or maybe they'll give you a condition, oh, you have to buy a certain amount, minimum order of every item. And then for buyout situations, I'd say definitely have cash, time, and space on your hand, because that's one of the harder aspects of the way I do it. There's times where I've lost a lot of money, times I made a lot of money, and I'm still sitting on tons of products right now that I slowly sell off over time.
How do you deal with restrictions with buyouts? Are you getting ungated? Well, let me take a step back. Are you getting invoices from these wholesalers when you do the buyouts to get ungated from Amazon?
Most of the time I'm not really gated on any products. And even so, even if I'm gated, I usually get auto ungated because of my sales history of Amazon. And these wholesalers, they'll always give me an invoice. So I always have proof of purchase on hand, no matter what.
Yeah, because that's definitely one of the benefits of doing wholesale, Jerry, is because a lot of people, I know you have a seasoned account, I have a seasoned account as well, but I still deal with, because I don't do the volume that you're doing. But especially the new people who are watching now, who are wanting to get started, they're going to be facing so many restrictions. So what's the process for getting ungated? Do you, when you get these deals and you get the invoice, do you just reach out to Amazon and then they ungate you because you have the manufacturer invoice, like permission?
All right. The Marvel item I showed you, let's say shows up restricted. I'll look up the ASIN under add a product on Amazon Seller Central. You type in the ASIN, it'll pop up the product. It says you cannot sell this item in new condition. There's usually a button to find out more or apply now. You click that, and if you have a good sales history of Amazon, most of the time they'll auto ungate you, because based on your sales history, they'll approve you. Or if it's a certain brand restriction, like they want actual invoices, they'll then tell you, you can sell this item, but please provide us with an invoice showing purchase of at least 10 or more units or a letter from the manufacturer. And that's usually where I just back off because I don't want to spend money to spend a couple hundred to have the product just to find out that Amazon says you can't sell it.
Right. Got it. Okay, cool. Now I want to dive a little deeper into what you said when you were giving out some wholesale tips about knowing the correct way to approach the vendors, right? When you're at a trade show, whether that's ASD. And I thought that was great advice as well, Jerry, where you said, just go look around, get acquainted, get a feel for it, because you're going to get more and more comfortable. But let's go through a scenario. Let's just say that I'm here and I'm selling a bunch of, let's say I got a bunch of books. I doubt that you do books, but maybe you do. And you're interested. Let's just pretend I got a whole stack of things behind me right now. I'm behind my booth, la-di-da-di-da, having a good old time. How are you going to approach me? Let's go through a scenario.
All right. So one thing I usually take to my advantage over others in trade shows is I'll go to ASD. I plan on going to other trade shows this year as well. I see people dressed in t-shirts and shorts. Like, I get it that ASD's in Las Vegas and it's hot, but when you're dressing in t-shirts and shorts, you're not giving off that professional vibe. So you just look like some random Joe Schmo selling stuff out of his garage versus what you want to look like, an executive that's in charge of selling tons of products at a time. So I'll go dressed in a suit, a tie, dress shoes, and I'll walk up to these guys, like extend my hand, say, hello, I'm Jerry from my company. I'm interested in your product. And it'll say, okay. And usually they'll ask, oh, how do you sell? Do you have a store? Do you sell online, your website? And I'll tell them, yes, I sell online. Amazon's one of my venues. It helps me move a lot of volume at a time. So I can see that it can be beneficial for both of us, that I can buy large quantities and you can move large quantities. And then from there, if they tell me to back off, I'll back off. Or if they find it nice, then we'll talk and discuss pricing.
What are some good signs that they're interested? Like, what are some of the things that they might say? Like, they won't be opposed to Amazon, or are there certain questions they'll start asking you where you're starting to like realize, okay, I think I got a live one.
All right. If they're opposed to Amazon, but they're willing to sell to a few sellers, they'll usually say, okay, I can sell it to you, but you have to buy a large amount. Mostly because if they have 1,000 of a toy and 20 different Amazon sellers pass by their booth and buy the same amount, but only buying 20, 30 of each, the price will eventually fall down and make it so it's not even profitable. So what they'd rather do is maybe sell off that 1,000 to maybe 3, 4 at most different people. So in that way we have a somewhat control of the price. And then since we see that it was selling good at a good price, we'd come back to that same wholesaler to buy more.
Interesting. So once you build a deal and you put a deal in place and you figure out how many you're buying, the price and all of that, what's the actual process of, do you just give them the cash right there and then they bring you, like at a trade show, is the inventory all in the booth, or is it like in there? Do they have like a truck that's in the parking lot? Like what's this whole process like?
Nah, this isn't
like Breaking Bad.
Just show up with a briefcase of cash.
Hey man, you're dressed in a suit, man. You know, that was a good tip because most people are dressed like with Tommy Bahamas and like they're just chilling. And I remember, I think last time I saw you, you were dressed up in a suit as well.
Yeah, I always go dressed up. If I'm not wearing a suit, I'm at least wearing a button up because presentation is key to these trade shows.
So what's the process for getting the item and stuff?
All right, so like I showed you, like there's a good toy I liked. The guy has 1,000 on hand. I want to buy 500. So I'll be like, okay, I want to buy 500 of this item. And there's some other items that catch my eye, but let's work on pricing. So we'll work out our deal. So let's say in total I'm spending maybe 10,000 with them. We'll work out my shipping information, see if it's cheaper to send by pallet or just standard ground mail to me. And once we have that figured out, I give them my credit card info. They write down a little sheet, and some of them will charge directly at the show. Others will go back to their warehouses at the end of the show and then process orders by highest order amounts first, and then tell you what the actual amount they charge on your card is.
Do you have to be worried about them not keeping up their end of the deal? For example, it's very common when you order from a supplier or a manufacturer in China, when you're doing private label, a lot of times you'll hire like an inspection company and they'll make sure that everything is up to standards. How do you know that when you receive your order from this wholesaler that you've never put a deal together with before in the past, that the products aren't going to be damaged, opened, returns? Do you do any type of due diligence or research on the company before placing a big order?
Well, you can tell by the face of the company if they're selling liquidations, like shelf pulls and returns, versus they're selling new case-packed items. Like liquidation companies, they'll tell you straight up, oh, we're liquidation, we're shelf pulls, we're returns. The items will come damaged, but we're giving it to you really cheap. Versus an actual wholesaler will be, all right, you can buy this item. There's 6 per case. They come in cardboard cases. And if you buy, let's say, 100 cases, they're coming on 2 pallets to your place. So once they're palletized and they're case packed, there's hardly any chance of them being damaged. And very rarely do they come damaged through standard ground mail if they're shipping that way.
Okay. So you're getting the products for the most part shipped directly to you. Are there any situations where you utilize a prep center? Dan and Eric of the Wholesale Formula, I just got back from their office and, they're doing, I don't know, millions per year wholesale. Their model's a little different than yours. But they're utilizing prep centers. Are you always touching the products, or are you planning on using prep centers in the future?
So the current situation I have with one of my better wholesalers was I mentioned earlier that during Q4, right before Black Friday, I visited his warehouse. So huge place. He let me pick out whatever I wanted, made a bunch of good deals. He told me that from now on, if I want to have something directly shipped to Amazon, he'll just charge me a flat rate per case. So he says like 50 cents each case to just ship it out for you, and you just pay the shipping and send me the shipping labels to Amazon. Yeah, and plus cool. That he told me that if I do a buyout on a certain item, he won't charge me storage for a few months. So it works out for both of us.
That's great. So, all in all, are you happy with your move to wholesale? Because I know a lot of people, Jerry, that are watching right now, they're thrifting, they're hitting garage sales, flea markets. I know some of them are doing RA and OA. How do you feel now about making the transition to wholesale? Do you see yourself going back? The honest truth, do you see yourself maybe going back to thrifting, or do you want to continue to scale wholesale? Really, now that you have a taste, sorry, I just smacked the microphone. Now that you have a taste of both sides, from the thrifting, RA, OA side to like the wholesale, what are your thoughts, man?
All right. So thrifting and RA, they're fun, but they don't yield as much success as I've had with wholesale recently. Because RA, there's more competition getting in, market saturation, just making any good item that's on a sale. So you'll see this video game, instead of being $50, it's $20 at Target this week. You're like, oh, I'll make $10. It looks nice. By the time it gets to the fulfillment center at Amazon, it's already at break even or a loss. Just because everyone's just racing to the bottom and having to reprice this price a penny below. So at this point, I really don't do RA as much as I used to. I'm just depending more on my wholesale buyouts to provide the income that I have right now.
Very cool, man. Very cool. And what advice would you give to people right now who want to transition over from the thrifting RA model to the wholesale? Is there one big takeaway, or maybe 1 or 2 things you could share that really helped you to make that transition?
Definitely with thrifting, you can build capital quickly and with a really good margin. And then from there, just start attending trade shows, get an eye out for what these people are selling, how the processes go. You don't have to make money on your first order, just get the experience on you, because failure is always the best teacher. My first wholesale order, I ended up losing like $500, but I learned how the process goes, and from there, I've just been having good success from there.
That's so cool, brother. It's been awesome hearing your story. And he's 20 years old, right? 20 years old. So very inspiring. And I want to say right now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out Jerry's Facebook. If you have any questions for him, or you want some one-on-one time consultation, he does help sellers as well. So I will link his Facebook information down below in the description. Also, if you guys have been following my channel, Dan and Eric of the Wholesale Formula, they have a free workshop that actually started the 11th. So if you want to get into that, you can go to rakeandprofit.com/free workshop to join that. It's a 5-day online workshop, which will talk to you about their business model. Now, their business model is a little different than Jerry's, but it's been cool hearing your story, because there's always people out there who say there's only one way to do it. There's only one way to private label. There's only one way to thrift. There's only one way to wholesale. That's not true at all. You know, I think based upon our capital situation, our goals, our risk tolerance, and if you guys haven't been able to notice, I've learned this quite quick about Jerry. Jerry has a very high threshold of risk. What did you say that's true?
Yeah, I have the space, money, and time to risk it all. So I don't mind holding an item for 1 or 2 years.
I love it, man. What's your next move? What's the future of wholesale for you? What's the future of, we had talked a while ago about real estate and whatnot. What's going to be coming? I'm just curious. What's going to be coming around the corner for you, Jerry?
Definitely need to get into real estate. Just buy a couple of warehouses and commercial properties. But down here in South Florida, pricing ain't the cheapest. So I still have to build some capital to get started on that.
Very cool, man. Final words of wisdom for the people before we head out. Final tips for the folks who want to make that transition, who want to start wholesale, but maybe they're just nervous. They're on the fence. They might have some limiting beliefs. I'm not smart enough. I don't know if I can do this.
All right. Go out there, risk it, get out of your comfort zone. Don't be worried about failure. Failure is the best teacher. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Money's to be made out there. Go and get it.
I love it. I love it. So if you guys have any more questions, again, Jerry's information will be down below. If you want to hit him up, ask him a question, work together. Again, the free workshop is down below as well. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Jerry, appreciate you coming on, brother. And I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me on.
So excited to see what the future has in store for you, because I've personally known you for, what has it been, 4 years now or so?
Yeah, I'm about to enter my fifth year of selling online.
Jeez, man, it's just been really cool watching. You were what, 15? What, 15? No, 15 or 16 when you started.
Yeah, 15 or 16 when I started. So
it's just so inspiring.
A fun ride.
Do you have any other friends who are doing this? Did you inspire any of your friends, or?
I have a friend that's a photographer full time, but his model is very different than what any of us do. Yeah.
Well, it's cool, man. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you coming on, brother, and enjoy sunny Florida. Maybe I'll see you in Miami soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Take care, everybody.